Hello, hypothetical listeners. I'm Matthew, and this is my friend Jackson. How's your day doing, Jackson?
It's going pretty good. We're slowly dismantling Christmas at my house.
You're dismantling the concept of Christmas?
Yeah, we're tearing it apart. That Constitution that's in that box all the way up there in Washington, D.C., we're dismantling it. We're dismantling this house. We're tearing it from the inside out.
Damn, homie's really Nick Cage from National
We're
Treasure.
we're we're Nick Caging Christmas right now, which I'm surprised he hasn't done at this point.
I don't know if he's been in a Christmas movie or not. I'm not very familiar with the career of Nicolas Cage.
Well, now I have to look it up.
Well, now you got to look it up. Now you got to see if
No,
he's
I
in any Christmas
have
movies.
to.
He's got to be in some sort of Christmas
Oh,
movie.
probably.
I mean, he's an interesting sort of character actor that I think
Hmm.
goes to very strange roles, but is what it is,
True, true.
Has there been any Christmas movies, Jackson? I know you're a Nick Cage fanatic.
I love I love Nick Cage even in like terrible movies or like I haven't watched enough Nick Cage films to like discertain whether or not it's actually good or actually bad.
I mean, what's your favorite Nick Cage movie?
My favorite Nick Cage movie, it's kind of a toss-up between Kick-Ass and the first Ghost Rider.
Those are respectful picks. I haven't seen any of those movies, but from what I hear about them, I hear Kick-Ass is good. And I
Hmm.
hear his performance in Ghost Rider is absurd.
Yeah, it's absurd. I mean, technically, it's not even the highest rated film,
Yeah.
I would argue, of Nick Cage's career, but like I prefer those performances because they're his,
Yeah.
unlike when he was in like Spider-Verse, where it's like, oh, he plays Spider Noir, which is cool, but like
It's not the
he
full Nick Cage experience.
no, it's not. He's more subdued in this one.
I can get that. I mean, if Nick Cage was to play any fictional character, what would be the best character that you're aware of that he would play perfectly?
The best character.
Yeah. What's the perfect
Uh
fan cast for Nick Cage for any
The
fictional
perfect,
character?
oh God. I mean, he was recently CG'd terribly into Ezra Miller's The Flash as
Did
Superman,
you
and I
see The
know that
Flash?
no, I have a sense of taste. Even though I have terrible taste, I had enough awareness to be like, no, I'm not touching that movie with a 10-foot pole.
That that movie is an experience.
It
Um
really is.
I had a very interesting movie experience watching that movie because I was in a phase and I wore like classic Matthew outfit, which Jackson's familiar with. I'm like a Smash Bros character where my clothes don't change, but the color of them does. And all black Matthew outfit, got my black cap on, my black sweater on, and I go see this movie and it is warm and I am so uncomfortable in these leather seats. So I'm like moving around through like half of the movie, like physically uncomfortable. My brain is mentally uncomfortable because the things I'm seeing is like a fever dream nightmare at points. Um, and then at a certain point, spoilers for the Flash, by the way.
Oh,
I
who
know everybody
cares?
went to go see it. That's why it
Everyone
bombed
went to
so
go.
bad.
Of course, of course.
Including Jackson, who says stated he hasn't seen it.
Yeah,
Um,
we'll cut that from the recording. We'll just cut it out.
no, we'll be honest about
No,
it. We'll be
no one
honest about
needs to
you've
know.
not seen this
No one
movie
needs
and
to know.
you're
It's fine.
bashing on it.
But go ahead. Tell us about the Flash.
Are you familiar with why he's in that movie?
It has to do with like the multiverse or like them finding heroes across it or something like that. If I'm not mistaken, I
Okay.
don't know.
You're mostly correct. Here's the other thing though. So in the 90s, they were gonna make a Superman movie called Superman something, I don't know.
Right,
Superman
right.
Lives. And they wanted Nick Cage to play Superman.
Yeah. What a
Which I
Nick
think is
Cage.
perfect casting for Superman.
You get Nick Cage, an actor who I really want to say has rarely done a guy who doesn't look insane.
Yes, as national American farm boy. hero, Superman.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah. So the script for this movie is also absurd.
Uh-huh.
So in The Flash, right? They're referencing this thing that like few people know about because I know about
Mm-hmm.
it because I'm a turbo nerd. Um,
Okay.
but okay, he
Please.
we pan in on this planet and
Uh-huh.
we see Superman. This looks like a Zack Snyder movie. Everything's dark and stormy because he wants to be edgy. And homie's dueling a giant spider.
A giant spider.
Yes.
What?
He's fighting a giant, like this is like a I would say in D&D terms it's gargantuan. You got a 4x4 square radius.
What is
Um
he fighting? Fucking Pennywise in his like true form is just this
that would be
giant
an
alien
accurate that'd
spider.
be an accurate description of this. He's fighting a giant CGI spider with laser
Why?
vision in his like lame 90s
Oh,
glossy Superman costume. Looks like a holographic magazine cover.
oh
And
God.
then he's fighting it with his laser eyes, and he turns around. And it's just Nick Cage with a mullet in his little Superman costume. He looks at the screen, and then we pan away. And I'm sitting in here. I'm like, oh, I know what that is. And then everyone else is like, what the fuck is that? What is going on?
What is
What
happening?
am I dead? What happened? What? And then it's like it's showing other CGI nightmares of like of dead people who have been reanimated through like computer generated necromancy that are being shown on the screen. Dude, it was it was a strange experience. I'm probably not going to see the movie again. I think I didn't like it a lot because of how uncomfortable I was, but I also don't think it was very good.
Oh, well, that's fair. Nobody, I don't think anyone would force you to go see that movie ever again.
I mean, I'll ask you this, Jackson. What's your most uncomfortable movie experience?
What is my most uncomfortable movie experience?
Yes.
Uh, I will take this with me until I die because I love it. When I think I was like 12 or 13, and at the time me, my parents and my sibling Maddie, we were traveling somewhere and we thought, "Hey, let's go see a movie." And my parents were like, "There's this new Will Ferrell movie out. It's a comedy. It's called Campaign. The Campaign." And
The campaign.
we, yes, and that movie. It's a rated R film, which it was a great start already, but for my parent of the year award. But
Mm.
what happened was in the film, we watched it. It was there were some good moments in there, a lot of swearing, some dumb shit. But the best part was that there were like two, maybe three sex scenes in the film that we were unaware of. And you have you ever had that experience with your
That's
parents?
so
Just
uncomfortable, dude. That's like the worst feeling.
and and my parents were like, "We're not gonna talk about this ever again, are we?" And I was like, "I don't know, maybe I don't know."
Were they
Uh,
like in depth? Like I don't want to. This might be too graphic, but
they,
like, was it like long enough to be deeply uncomfortable?
um, that is a good question. It's been forever since I've seen the film, but I feel like it was awkward enough and maybe long enough to where you were just like, "Oh, we're not going to talk about this." and they and and I've never had the sex talk because my parents realized that I was aware enough on the internet, but I wasn't a complete and total degenerate to just like do dumb shit, and I needed to. I didn't need it explained to me.
That is skin crawlingly
Yeah,
uh in,
it wasn't even
uncomfortable.
that was and that wasn't even the only R-rated film I watched that year with my family.
Was did the other one go as bad?
No, it was actually Kick-Ass.
Okay. Oh, reference callback. All right.
Callback to earlier with Nick Cage
I mean, I'll
because
ask
I've
this though
still
about
been
the Nick Cage. What's your perfect fan cast? Never got an answer.
Well, I honestly have like a couple of different visions of Nick Cage.
All right.
Mostly, there is a film which, if you've never seen it, oh my God, it is an experience in and of itself. It's called No Country for Old Men.
Oh, I love that movie.
Uh, it is very
That's the Coen
serious.
brothers, right?
Yeah, it's the Coens, and I think just having Nick Cage's crazed attitude about things as the main character, as like Tommy Lee Jones or Javier, I think it's like Javier Bardem. If you would have Nick Cage play this super serious role and like act like this is just a normal day for him of like murdering shopkeepers and threatening old ladies and stuff,
Yes.
like that would be, I think, the best parody film of all time.
Well, what if all three of the main characters were all played by Nick Cage?
It's just
It's
every
called All
character.
No Country for Nick Cage.
No men for this country.
Bro.
No men, only Nick Cage.
So
He's
that's
not a man.
so that's one of your visions. What's your other vision?
That's- I want to say that another idea I had was, Groundhog Day, right?
Yes.
And how they also did one later down the line, which was like Happy Death Day.
Yes.
Uh, and I want to imagine that instead of it being a horror movie, it'd go back to comedy. It's not like drama or anything or like romantic. It's
Mm.
just Nick Cage being stuck forever and basically like stuck on like a movie set, and like, this is like Nick Cage like phoning it in or just being like, oh, it's just another like shitty war movie, and then eventually he's basically stuck in a loop of like doing stunts over and over again, and like basically the universe is telling him you have to make this movie good.
Okay. So he's trapped in this eternal struggle of not phoning it in.
Yes, it's basically just like forcing him to be to act well.
Okay. I mean that I think that'd be interesting.
I don't
Did
know.
you did
There's
you
a
see The
lot of them.
Incredible Weight of Massive Talent? Because that has some parallels to that kind of.
Yes, I did see that movie. I thought it was very funny. It spawned a lot of memes, and I think it was honestly probably one of Nick Cage's best movies, even though it was literally an ego stroke.
I mean, I think he's pretty self-aware in that movie, but I
Oh yeah,
agree with you. It's
oh
a
yeah.
complete ego stroke. I
Mm-hmm.
I think the reason I don't know. This is nothing I say here. Uh, Nothing I say here is fact. I'll be honest about
Uh-huh.
that. I think
Okay.
something I read is like he bought like a castle or something. Like he's the main character in Blank Check. Um,
Mm.
and he has to like pay off a bunch of taxes involved with his castle. I think that's why he does all the roles.
I mean, like I've heard some very interesting stories. In fact, tying back to D&D that you mentioned earlier, I had a
Yes.
character in a game who was based off of one of the purchases that I vividly remember about Nick Cage,
Okay.
and it is that he has two albino king cobras. He just has.
Is one called Nick and the other Cage? That I
I
mean,
have no idea. I have no idea, but I would not put it past him to just be like, we have these albino king cobras, which he may or may not use for sexual purposes, and we're just gonna name them Nick and Cage.
that's an ego stroke if I've ever heard one. But I
Uh-huh.
don't think he named them Nick and Cage. I mean,
No.
let me ask this then: if you could have an absurd rich person animal to own, what would it be
Uh-huh.
and why? And what would you name it?
An absurd rich person animal.
Yeah, like owning a white tiger or whatever.
Weirdly enough, I would kind of want to own like, have you seen one of those Chinese bears that just looks like somebody's just like in a bear suit?
Um,
Do you know what I'm talking
I
about?
think I know what you mean.
They're kind of like, they have all these flabs and stuff, and there was like a video a while back of like somebody at the zoo. Oh, they're called sun
Oh,
bears.
sun
That's what
bears?
they're.
Okay, no, I know what you mean.
And they
Okay.
just look. They have this like giant bib around their
They're
necks, and I'm
weirdly
just like,
lanky.
they're weirdly lanky, and I'm just like, I don't know why, but I would want to. I would want one of those.
What if you were a bear, right?
Hmm.
what kind of bear would you want to be? Would you want to be the lanky sun bear or like a polar bear and then your house gets melted?
That sounds terrible. I would probably go with like a black bear. Like weirdly, I see a lot of videos of like, oh, there's these super aggressive like grizzly bears, like literally running people down, like while they're riding bikes and shit.
Yeah.
And I think like usually I see black bears and like on the news, and they're like, oh, they're clambering onto like swing sets or like all this other stuff. Like I see very little like, oh, watch out, it's a black bear.
I think black bears are a lot less deadly than grizzly bears are like if you see one you're like might die like instantly. I don't know. I would not want to run to a grizzly bear. That's scary
Yeah,
as hell.
just don't do it. Just avoid them, and you'll be fine.
I mean,
Do your
have you ever
best.
seen a bear like in
I
real life?
have. I have actually.
What
One
happened?
time when I was up at camp, I don't remember specifically where. We were up in the mountains, and it was towards the end of the camp week or so. Like, 'cause you could stay there for like up to 3 weeks, and I think I stayed there for like 2 or so. And what happened was, towards the end, we I think we were doing some like night activities or something, and we were just in the lodge, and then all of a sudden there was like somebody like pointing and like yelling in the corner of the lodge, and we were just like, what are you doing? And like they were pointing that there was like a black bear cub like outside of the cabins, and we were just like, oh no. And there was like a bunch of adults like trying to lure it away and stuff.
Let me ask
uh
this, Jackson. Did you embrace your druidic abilities, walk outside, tame this bear, and he is now your animal companion
no,
that
he's my
is your
animal.
staunch defender and ally?
Staunch defender and ally. Oh my god. No, I unfortunately do not have the animal handling capabilities to pull that off.
Damn, dude did not accept the multi-class. It's okay, Jackson.
No, you literally taught me since like day one that multiclassing is just worse than going all the way.
I think I've changed my mind on that. I guess you're getting into D&D stuff now.
Would switch gears.
So, okay. For multi-classing, right? I think it's good after level 5, but if you're like a full spellcaster, it's kind of iffy. I play in a game where I play like a spellcaster that's multi-class. He's like 2 cleric and then like 11 sorcerer and then 1 level of rogue because I guess that makes sense. But he also
Hmm.
none of the other characters are spellcasters really. And like all of the characters are multi-class. But I also run a game where like nobody's multi-class except one dude who has like 1 level of warlock. But I don't know.
I say.
I mean, I'll ask
Well,
this. Go on, sorry.
are the question is, are they hexblade?
No. They're a weird character. They're a barbarian warlock. Uh
Barbarian world. That sounds like something stupid I would make.
I don't think what you would make would be stupid. I think it'd
I
be absurd, but
oh, I
I think
can
there's a
make it
difference.
stupid. Don't test me. I can
Don't
make it
test you on the
stupid.
stupidity
Don't
you
test.
could accomplish in your
Yes,
D&D
yes.
characters. I mean, I won't, bro. We don't even need to get
We
into
don't
Gorefree
even need
Gilgamesh,
to know.
dude. With this character, they made a deal with like a nightmare god, and they're basically their character's very unique. So they basically look like a sleep paralysis demon, um, and like through becoming, and they can't have nightmares because they're like a synthetic being. But basically, the god of nightmares is like become my champion, and the idea is he's eventually going to be the first sleep paralysis demon, and he's gonna be what people see when they see one.
That's interesting.
Yeah, I mean, okay, let's hear some of these crazy D&D character concepts.
Like, dude, I have an entire Google Doc devoted to just making stupid character concepts, and like some of them, like I've made a list of every single multi-class combination, like 2 multi-class combinations possible.
Yes.
And I've also made characters based off of other video game characters. I have personal like random shots in the dark characters like the Mud Wizard.
The Mud
Um,
Wizard?
yeah, the Mud Wizard,
What's
dude.
his deal?
He's a conjurer.
Okay.
He basically finds neutrality and enlightenment amongst mud because it represents both life and death.
Interesting philosophy.
And basically, since it represents both of those things, if you basically don't have either in existence, everything will basically die. So he's just like, I will act as the keeper of mud, and he has this weird he it's like undertones of he could probably just be an NPC where it's seen that he is actually immortal because people have noted that there's always been like a weird figure amongst the carnage of after like glorious battles and war because like mud is formed when blood and water and whatnot is spilt onto like dirt and stuff and
Yeah.
he's like a weird folk tale character.
I think that's a cool concept, man. I like how it involves like symbology and how you crafted the idea of this character through the concept.
It just started out as like just a weird man going like meh mud and he just like
Yeah.
it started I think it started out as I saw a video of this news broadcast that was going on. I think it was somewhere in Europe or maybe it was somewhere in like the Midwest where it was like a bunch of protesters or like police, no, it was police, and they were going against this like protest or something,
Oh, I
and there
love
was
that
a
video.
dude there was a dude who was throwing like mud or like had a bunch of mud around him, and then people couldn't like the police couldn't touch him because he had like all this mud and stuff, and I was just like, that would be a perfect character.
No, dude, that video's hilarious, bro. The police are like
uh,
sloshing around, and he's just
he,
standing there in his little
he's
druid
just
robe, just
he's
like
just good.
casting spells to
He was shifting the ground to turn into mud, bro. Like it was
dude, a true
great.
legend, a true
He's a true
legend.
legend. Yes.
I mean, going off
I
like go on, man.
no, go ahead, go ahead.
Going off like the D&D stuff. I mean, other than the antics of Mud Wizard that we may see in the future,
Hmm.
what's the craziest D&D moment you've had as a player?
Okay, craziest moment as a player. That is a good question. I think there are a lot of moments where you think that there's like an epic battle going on and like you're gonna die, and you just watch them effortlessly destroy something. I'll give you two moments. The first
Yeah.
was I play first edition D&D up in college with some friends, and our moment was we were escaping a castle that housed a blue and white fused dragon, and what we
Blue
had to
Eyes
do,
White Dragon, bro.
yeah, it was blue eyes white dragon. It was shooting ice and lightning at the same time. It was pretty crazy.
Yeah.
uh what happened was we ran out, and our thief orc was on the other side, and he specialized in making siege engines, and basically we were all trying to fight this dragon as it like escaped the castle and was like flying around. What we proceeded to do was our cleric of fire lit herself on fire and thought, hey, let me get onto the siege engine and then launch me at the dragon so that I can just burn myself and the dragon to death.
Yeah.
And then it eventually devolved into I casted haste on our ranger who has magic guns, and
Okay.
then he got launched into the air and literally dual headshotted the dragon and killed it.
I mean, that's
Like
pretty
two shot.
badass, not gonna lie, dude.
It was two shot by a ranger. And it was just like, oh, all I need to do is haste our ranger and we win every confrontation.
Dude, people sleep on Ranger. I think Ranger's actually pretty broken,
Eh,
but I will say I don't think it's because of I don't think it's because of the class. I just think it focuses on ranged combat, which is like one of the stronger
mhm.
combats you can use. But yeah, what was the other story?
The other, the in terms of craziness or like weirdness,
Yeah.
uh, I'd probably say that one of my favorite moments was when one of my characters died. It was an embarrassing moment. It was a wizard I was playing named Rafty. It was a hobgoblin wizard whose whole thing was
Oh.
that he was a war mage solely focused on like scrapping and junking things,
Yeah.
and
I know that I remember this story.
Okay, and I remember one of the moments that it was awesome was that he was like he rivaled like an orc samurai, and then they fought, and he like nearly died, and like, but the worst thing was that we got to this dungeon filled with kobolds. It was I think we were under like a contract or something to clear these guys out or get to the bottom of it.
Yeah.
And what happened was our first encounter with these kobolds involved them just throwing pots filled with God knows what at us, and it devolved into I couldn't hit them. My idea, because I didn't know how mold earth worked at the time, and I
Yeah.
thought like or shape earth or whatever, and I thought I could basically make holes so that we could bury the kobolds in like dirt and stuff
Yeah.
to suffocate them. And it devolved into I got hit by pot scorpions and pot centipedes. I tried to kill these centipedes by jumping into a hole and like covering myself with dirt. And then I just died because I took too much damage because I'm a wizard. I have no health. And then I just died and they buried me in the hole that I made.
I mean, all I gotta say, dude, is this is clearly a skill issue. Dude did not master mud arcane magic. He
And
should
then
have spoken to the mud wizard.
and then a
Rookie
fucking
mistake, bro.
And then I eventually had my new character who was a turtle. What the hell was his? It was Genkai.
Genkai? Yeah.
He was a turtle druid, and he came in amidst all of this. He got thrown in amidst all the bullshit after the fight, and he was just like, "Oh, there's a grave here." Poor sucker died, didn't he? And then
Bro,
I
poor
proceeded
Rafty, bro.
to play that fucking Genkai. He was an MVP because all he did was go through kobold holes as a rat and like found the hordes and stuff. We never really went on with.
No, I mean, I think Nolan's character also died in that, so it kind of ended at a certain point. But I mean, at least it didn't go like Tiny Chops though, bro.
we don't need to talk about the Tiny Chops incident.
Bro, Tiny
Like,
Chops was a hero, a silent one who didn't do anything heroic,
silent
and died
hero.
immediately. But
I was my first game as a DM. You had to bring up that terrible game.
I mean, I appreciate you allowed me to throw bricks and enlarge them.
You literally your entire game plan was just enlarge, reduce, and it was the funniest thing.
Well, I mean, I also enlarged grenades. That also helps.
You enlarged GIF grenades that you got off of a GIF hunter or merchant or something.
Yeah.
And it was you tried to kill these stone golems or like iron golems, and they didn't, and like gorgons that were shooting like poisonous gas or whatever, and it you threw it in, everyone jumped down into the chamber, and I told you at the end that the golem lived with 1 health.
Well, then I also I caused a collapse.
You caused a collapse.
Of the entire thing.
You buried yourselves, but you managed to get like deep enough to avoid.
I mean, I'll work down again. Except Tiny Chops died horribly. But you know what?
Do we need to give context to that?
What, Tiny Chops' death?
Chops, yeah.
Okay, so context. My character was named Gorn. He's a half-orc wizard and an alcoholic because he killed his best friend on accident because he enlarged a chandelier, which then killed his friend while trying to find a succubus. All right. Other than that, Gorn, current bum, who just throws things and enlarges them to kill people, was in this dungeon, and this is after we collapsed most of it, so the party got split up. And my guy was with 2 other characters. I think a dwarf fighter Raymond played, and then his brother's character, like called Salvador the Evil or something. And
it was something.
And we go into this area, and Raymond's friend had come over to play D&D, and he hadn't played before, and he was really excited to play. And he made like this gnome barbarian named Tiny Chops with like a pink mustache and pink coiffed hair and dual-wielded long swords. And he's in this little cage. Oh yeah, you want to take it from here, buddy?
Yeah, so they were rounding a corner. The whole context of the story is that there are these like artifacts that represent like the different senses or whatever.
Yeah.
And the whole idea was that they were trying to find one. I think it was about the brain. I think it was like a brain crystal or something the cerebral crystal or some dumb name like
I mean,
that.
you know better than I would.
And, and so the idea that I wanted to have was like, oh, let me introduce this new character by having them rescue him in this dungeon because like maybe it makes some sense. And then eventually they go in and they find that a beholder, I think just like a regular beholder, I don't think it was like anything special. It was a
What about
beholder.
zombie beholder? 'Cause I think a
It might
regular
have,
beholder would be too much for us. We're like
yeah.
5.
It was like a zombie beholder that was like planning on eating this gnome, and it devolved into like a combat. And on at the very beginning, I think the beholder rolled, and it got like a disintegration ray and insta killed Tiny Chops because I rolled a die to randomly choose who would get hit, and then it happened to be Tiny Chops, who hasn't said a singular line of dialogue
Hasn't
in
said a
character.
single thing, bro. We don't even know his name, bro. On
He-
Grave of the
and
Unmarked
then
Soldier.
he and the cage got disintegrated, and then I didn't know what to do because I fucked up, and so what I chose to do was have him basically his soul would fly into the crystal that they were looking for, and the idea was like, oh, somebody would basically have like a dual personality, or like maybe this crystal would turn him back into his old way, but it's just crystal.
Yeah.
But that was before I was good at improvising D&D stuff.
It's okay, man. I just felt bad for the guy because dude showed up. Dude showed up like, oh, I'm ready to play D&D. His character is introduced, instantly dies in a way we cannot bring him back. He's dust now.
No.
We don't know his name. We don't know anything about him. There's no reason for us to help him. He's gone.
He just died, and I'm just like, wait a minute. Wait a minute. I think I had just met him that day
You did.
or that night, and I killed his character instantly. And from that point on, I think it was from that point on, or for something, that I was just infamously known for like killing characters that weren't mine.
Well, you killed like you would play a character when someone wasn't there, then that character would die, or you play like an NPC and then it would die. Normally the giant
Yeah.
spiders, because giant spiders would always kill our characters.
We had a lot of encounters with giant spiders during our earlier.
They do be spooky, not gonna lie. I mean, I'll say this about spiders, right?
Mm-hmm.
What do you think of people that own tarantulas?
I mean, they have a higher tolerance for that sort of stuff. Like I guess if it's not like poisonous or like you get the glands out or whatever, but like I guess the looming threat that like it has, it just irks me from ever being like, why would you own that?
What's the biggest animal that you're like that's normalized as like a pet, right? Because you're a dog person, you have several dogs. Dude's a
Mhm.
humanitarian for the dog world.
I've
Has all this
I've had
rescue.
I've had several dogs. Yes.
What?
I
Go on.
hmm. I the biggest that I've seen that's like normalized is like a Komodo dragon.
Dude, what?
I I've seen Komodo dragons, and I'm just like, and some people I've also heard on like other podcasts and stuff just being like, oh, I had a Komodo dragon in my like when I was younger, and I'm like, why would you? Why?
Why would you do that, bro? Those things are literal human killing machines. They can smell your blood from like a mile away, and then they run up to you and let you bleed to death before
Uh-huh.
consuming you, bro.
It's so
Nightmarish.
it's like Komodo dragon or like bearded dragons. Like if you want like a giant reptilian or like amphibian or whatever, just go with like a tortoise or something.
Like an
Like
iguana.
or an iguana. Like the iguanas are more manageable.
Iguana will not smell your blood and consume your flesh. Like
No.
Komodo dragon, crazy dude. Crazy, man.
That's crazy.
I mean, what's your opinion of reptiles? Do you like reptiles?
I mean, I have a problem with reptiles.
Okay.
I think I don't have a problem with people that have reptiles. I think my main issue is that I've just I don't know. I don't know how to take care of one. It's always just seemed like you just throw in some bugs, you give them like a heat lamp and like a log to sit on, and that's the extent of it.
I mean, if you were in a scenario, right,
Mm-hmm.
where you had to duel a Komodo dragon. Do you
Okay.
think you could take it?
Well, am I unarmed in this
You
situation?
have your equipment that you would have if you were going to tennis practice.
for, for tennis so basically I'm like going and just being like, oh, I gotta get unfat, let's go play some tennis, and then I just like, oh shit, a Komodo dragon
Yes, you have
appeared,
a random
like
encounter. You're walking in tall
like
grass.
it's a
Komodo dragon
Pokemon
appears.
battle.
You have no companions. You
Oh
don't have your bear cub that
no.
you didn't train him. You know your starter's gone. Um,
My starter bear is gone. No.
you're in the safari zone, dude, and all you got's a
Ah,
racket and like
shit.
20 tennis balls. Do you think you
Oh
could take a Komodo
fuck.
dragon?
Uh, could I take a Komodo dragon? You know, I feel like I'd be a little more. I feel like I'm more confident with the equipment, but I think I would vastly underestimate like how fast this thing could like, or how deadly it is. Because all I would be doing is trying to play keep away with it,
Yeah.
or like throwing tennis balls at it and just being like, man, go away.
I mean, okay, would you go in for like a melee option or like a ranged offensive with the tennis balls?
I think what I would have to do is like I would need to approach it like you would an alligator and just be I need to get it in its blind spots. I need to like it maybe if I can like use my big foot and like keep its mouth closed or something, and like if I can somehow like jump over it or whatever, then maybe I could. But this is coming from somebody who's never fought an animal. I'm a I don't fight. I could probably lose this no matter what I was given.
You've never been in a fight before?
No, I don't believe. Well, not anything like I was in martial arts, but that was about the extent
Oh,
of
I'm
my
bro.
combat
If you
training.
got you're classed a monk. You could take out a Komodo dragon. You got martial arts skills.
I'm out here just being like, I learned how to fight with video games. Like,
Yeah, and then
I
it
think
eats
I
your
got.
foot off, dude. A nightmare scenario, bro. Never want to
The
run into a
nightmare
dragon.
scenario.
I mean, how
Uh,
was martial arts? Did you enjoy doing it?
it was a pretty decent time. It was like good exercise. There were some people in there that I was pretty cool with, but then eventually it sort of. Do you first? Do you remember someone in like high school named Cameron? He was in my martial arts class.
Okay.
And I remember one time we had to spar together because we were like similar heights and like not
Yes.
same weight class. We just it was a whole height thing.
You are 8
And
foot 10.
it, he was he was 8'10", but like he was fairly skinny for
Yeah,
his height.
he's got the sun bear energy. He's pretty lanky.
He's got the sunburn.
He's got a sun bear build. That's pretty
He's
dangerous.
got a sunburn build. Anyways, we had our sparring gear on. I had the mouth guard in. I was all ready, and it was just like we got excited for like sparring because it doesn't always happen every night. It happens
Yeah.
every once in a while. And what happened was we were going up against each other. Everyone was surrounded in a circle. I just start like machine gunning him, like going as hard as possible, and I like
Going
I
full mode, bro.
there is a if any of you play Street Fighter, I just like or like fighting games, I just pressured him into the corner. He was holding the block button the whole time. I like I soft resetted him. I got him with the oh god, what's the fucking term? Oh god, there's a fighting game term where
It's
it's
not the
like
ultimate. You hit him
you
with an
hit
ultimate.
the you, I hit him with the machine gun blow. I hit him with the oh, it's like a fuzzy aerial, I think is what it's called. It's just it was so and then eventually like the guy who was watching us or like whoever was facilitating was just like, all right, that's enough. Like he didn't say it like aggressively, it's just like, all right, that's it.
Dude,
Next
you got a
person.
that's enough after going full turbo like dueling mode on this dude.
I
Dude, if
went,
you're going full mode on him on on Sun Bear type build, I think you could definitely take Komodo Dragon. All right, I
I don't
believe
know,
in you.
that that I don't know, my emotions would just immediately like I feel like if I was given the opportunity to like fight and like I was allowed to go no holds bar, I feel like something would go wrong.
What do you mean?
I, I- you give me someone to fight, I have no repercussions. Like this is like a terrible person. I keep getting these like scenarios in my head where I'm just like, okay, if I had to like fight, if I had to fight for someone's honor or like to protect somebody, and like this was like a deadly serious situation, I don't know. I'd just be like pulling off all the combos. I'd be just like punching him in the gut. I'd do like a Johnny Cage like full split into nut punch or something. It would just get it would just get really
I
stupid.
mean,
but
you
I'd
do
just
have
be
your
punching.
Ryu tennis sweatband. So I mean, if you rock up to the duel with that and start shadow boxing, I'm scared. I'd be scared, dude.
Shadow boxing.
I'd be scared. Homie's got demons he's got to
I'm
exercise.
at the back of a bar in the bathroom, just like I've been shadow boxing for the last 35 minutes, just waiting for someone to walk out so I can beat
The
the
Komodo
shit
dragon
out of
walks
him.
in, bro. You got him. You got him, dude.
I'm about to double dragon this fool. I'm gonna pick up a bar stool. I'm gonna smash it over his head.
Dude,
He's
you're gonna
gonna
make
pull
this
a-
single dragon into 2 dragons with
I'm
your
gonna
with the force
I'm
of
gonna
your
s-
fists.
I'm gonna split this dragon in half, bro. I'm gonna turn him into a hydra real quick. I know we were talking about like movies and I've mentioned video games a couple times. Like, is there any entertainment medium that like you feel like could be a lot better or like a lot more engaging?
Um, hmm, hmm. I mean, I
That's
don't
fair.
like anime, for one.
I mean, you constantly surround yourself with people that also watch anime, so
I know.
I don't
I live in a dystopia.
you live in a society.
I mean, I like some anime, right? I like Vinland Saga. I think Vinland Saga is pretty good. I watched some of My
Hmm.
Hero. I watched most of My Hero, but then I'm like, they at a certain point it got like weirdly, weirdly like gross and like they had like constant like butt shots. I'm like, this is
But
uncomfortable. And then I'm like, I
I
just
mean,
stopped watching
yeah,
at that point because I'm like, gross.
you're obviously not the kind of person who goes after fan service.
No, I think fan service is like, what's the point of this? I think it's like a cultural thing, right? I don't. I just think it's.
Yeah,
I guess I'm kind of a prude when it comes to that stuff. I don't like. I don't like that
I,
kind of
I
stuff.
I get you. I get you. I mean, yeah, if I had to recommend an anime that I think other people would recommend to other people, it would probably be like Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood
Is
is
that one
pretty
good?
like it's pretty good. I'd say some people would regard it as like one of the best animes of all time, and
Yeah.
I don't think there's really much in the ways of like fan service. It's very like there's some great visuals, there's a lot of cool like monsters and effects, and it's like it has a magic and it uses this or alchemy and it follows its rules and I think it's pretty good.
I'll look into that. I mean, how long is it? Because the reason I brought up anime is because I find the concept of filler in anime incredibly boring.
Mm-hmm.
Like
Uh
I don't really understand just sitting and watch because it's already like it's like about One Piece, right? It's like 1,000 episodes and like there's filler in it. I'm like, what are you trying to fill?
I
That's too
mean
much. That's too much sauce, bro. That's
it's
like in Papa's Burgeria where it's just like
that's
constant mayonnaise. Like it's too much.
it's
I don't
constant,
want that
man.
much mayonnaise.
To
I
answer
don't
your
even like
question,
mayonnaise.
it from what I've found, the full episode list for Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood is there are 64 episodes.
There's 60. That's not that bad.
I mean, in comparison to like the bigger Shonen Jump stuff, yes. And I'm very surprised that you, of all people, would want to go after My Hero at all.
I My friend was watching it,
Hmm.
and we would go to the movies all the time. This is Raymond from last episode. We would go to
Okay.
movies all the time, and he would tell me what happened. And he was not an anime fan, and his brother was a big anime fan. He's like, his brother was like, you are not accepting a part of media, and you have to embrace it. And he was like, okay. So he started watching anime, and he would tell me the stories. Like, that actually sounds pretty interesting. And then I
Uh-huh.
watch it, and I think some of it's good, right? The main character
Hmm.
is kind of annoying, because he's so like over dramatic about being a hero constantly. Like he's like, that's what being a hero really means, and he says that all the time. And I'm like, dude, calm
It's almost
down.
welcome to the first season when he's like, "Oh, if I have these powers, I just broke my left ass cheek from crying too hard.
Yeah, I'm like,
His
I don't
powers.
really mind the crying that much. Like, I think that's fine, but like, he's just like, he's constantly being told like, wow, that guy, that's what a true hero would be. Oh my god. And then he would be like, I'm doing this because that's what a hero does. And it's like constant. And I'm like, oh my god.
I love that how you're talking, how you're making him sound like I really just want you to say like that's what the mask is for.
That's
Like
what the
you're just
point of the mask is.
it's like I want to imagine just like Deku's just like because there's so many I see so many fucking like fan comics and like different versions of him. I'm just like, oh my god, just shut up. And I look at the regular version and I'm like, I still don't like him.
He's I like All Might in that show. I think All Might's pretty cool. I also
Yeah.
really liked the guy that can like phase through like things and he spoilers. I think his name
Oh
is
yeah.
Do you know what his name is?
I don't remember what his name is. I know that he gets naked just so like he can phase through and he's like really strong and people think like he's gonna be the next All Might or whatever,
Yeah,
but
kind of
like
looks like All Might. I really
he-
liked him as a character. I liked what they did with him, and like that dude's a real hero. Unlike this guy who needs constant validation that he is one.
what the hell is it?
I mean, are you a fan?
Lemilio suit?
With the what?
Lemilio suit?
It's
his name
Lemillion.
Lemillion,
Yeah.
or Mirio. Yeah, his quirk is that he can like phase out of his clothes, or he can like phase through matter if he's like. I
Yeah.
love how I needed to look him up, and I had to type in "naked guy" in My Hero, and then it just shows me explicit stuff, and I'm just like, at the very top, it talks about the fandom, and I'm like, thank God the fandom is at
The
the top.
FBI now knows that you looked that up. I hope you
From
know that.
My Hero. Oh no,
Oh
not
no,
it's
bro.
not like they haven't seen me at my lowest before. Oh no.
Bruh.
They know
They-
everything,
They
dude.
do
It's
know
fine.
everything except what FBI stands for. I don't know what it
Do you not
No,
know?
I know. I'm just doing a joke.
It's just like,
I was very confused as a child. I was like, CSI? CIA? I thought they were the same thing.
what that we're the same
Yeah, I'm like, I thought the CIA was solving crimes.
freaking
they're just
acronyms
causing
and shit.
crimes.
Causing
Alright.
crime.
They're the anti-CSI, bro. They
It's
be,
the answer. It's the CIA
hiding
versus
criminal
CSI.
evidence.
Can we have that show CSI versus CIA?
Bro. Wait,
That sounds like something that,
what does CSI stand for?
CSI stands for
Crime scene investigation.
crime
Yeah,
scene investigation.
CIA
Yes.
is just crime.
It just spells out crime.
Crime
No acro-
instigation agency, bro. All right.
It's like it's no acronym, no anagram. It's just crime.
I hope the CIA doesn't watch this and then like come to my house and then
You-
there's no more episodes of the podcast.
You think you're gonna have fans who work in the CIA? I mean, that would be
I don't
amazing.
think I have fans currently.
Don't say that. Don't say that.
I mean, I have 2 fans in my room. They keep me cold.
You know what? I'm cold just listening to what you're saying, Matt.
Wow, that hurts.
You're making me chilly with how
How
ice cold those words
How
are.
unfunny that sentence was. That was a pretty unfunny joke. I'll be
Sent a
honest.
chill down my spine, my
I'll ask
bones.
this. Talking about unfunny jokes. That was me.
Mhm.
So you did improv.
Yeah, I mean, that was a good transition. Improv is like, I love improv. God damn, can it be super unfunny sometimes?
I'm gonna ask you the worst question that people probably
Uh-huh.
ask you. Oh,
Yeah,
you
sure.
improv? Tell me something funny.
Yeah, that's what every comedian is told at some point, and you're just like, ha ha ha. Because
No.
you can literally fucking say anything. Because comedy is subjective. Everyone's humor is broken, and we are all just subjected to like different forms of humor, and that's why I Jackson Alexander Doxed am here to say that you can laugh at anything and it's fine. People may not see it as fine, but like if you find something funny, okay, keep it as funny.
I mean, can I ask you something?
Uh-huh.
What kind of when you like started doing improv? Because you're part of the improv club at our high school.
I was, yes.
What was like some comedians you like looked up to and like kind of tried to aspire to be, or like what things kind of inspired you in your own like attempt, or I think in your own like search for improv. I
Mm-hmm.
guess search is the correct word for it.
I think that in terms of really good, there's a lot of good comedians out there. There's also a lot of actors and voice actors and whatnot that I really enjoy. Like, I think someone in terms of actors who I relate to quite a bit is Jim Carrey, and the fact that he's this really weird, overly exaggerated guy, but he has his issues, and he stands behind his smile and all the weird ass performances he's done as like a kind of a coping mechanism. I don't really know what he's doing now. Not movies, I know that. But
I mean, yeah, because he retired after Sonic 2, right?
I think it was after Sonic 2 that he was like, "All right, I'm tapping out. I've done this for a long time. I got some good films. I also got some bad ones, but most of them are pretty good." And when I was looking at improv and like why I did it, I originally took drama classes in elementary school, and I was a part of a couple plays, and then I eventually like I kind of dipped. I felt like I had other time investments I needed to make,
Yeah, like
and
other
so I was
interests
like,
also.
yeah, I wanted to explore stuff, and so I was like, all right, I gotta go. You guys have fun, and I think they might still be doing plays over at Coverly. I could be very wrong, but uh, what it eventually involved was like, oh, I watch a bunch of stand-up comedy and like a bunch of other stuff, so let's look at this improv thing. And I looked at it, I was scared, I ran away, and then this guy who I sat in front of in band class, his name is Zane, and he
Shout out to Zane.
was I remember him as like the coolest dude because he was chill, he didn't give a fuck. He had sort of this like you could just imagine every time he like sits on a chair that like even if there's nothing around him, he will always have his legs on top of something else.
Okay,
He's just like he's super laid. He's like laid back every time, and
that's
I
a very powerful image.
it's a very powerful image. And and he was just like, hey, you with the big head and
Hey, you
whatnot.
with the
Let's
pro?
with the you standing right in front of me, getting in my fucking face. Why don't you come with me? I got my buddy Danny or whatever the fuck his name was. We got improv, and I've been doing it for a while. You should join us. And I'm like, oh, okay. So I did. I joined, but it was very much like, oh, you haven't had enough experience. You're not really going to be in shows. Maybe you're going to do like one or two things, and then you're going to like sit down in the audience. And I wasn't a huge fan. I kind of dipped out. And then I came back like end of second year or my sophomore year or like junior year, and it got better. And then senior year, I got kicked out of the improv club.
What happened there?
I was doing a senior talent show, and I had the time investment that I needed to do. There was a specific day where I had to go in order to like I don't think it was auditions or anything. I think it was either auditions or it had to do with like, oh, we're gonna meet everybody and like we're gonna establish what the hell's going on. And that day that messed up with improv auditions, and even if you were a part of the club, you had to audition.
Yeah.
And the teacher who was no longer there, no longer working at the school, she was basically like, "Well, you missed this day. Tough luck." And
That's
the other thing was, she was giving me a huge hard time because I was not a part of any drama classes or anything, and
Yeah.
it slowly became elitist. And like, if you didn't take a drama class or weren't in any drama classes, you weren't allowed to join.
It's kind of fucked up, honestly, man. I mean, I think if you like have history in it, you should have at least given it a chance. I think.
Yeah,
Did you like explain to her like, hey, there's this like scheduling conflict that was
yeah.
happening?
I told her, and she was like, "Well, that's tough luck." And then
Wow.
I remember this was a line that I will keep holding on to. And if anyone ever hears this, if you the viewer at home ever hear this, be warned. I went up to her. I explained it to her, like, can I audition or anything? And she's like, no, sorry. Or she didn't even say sorry. She was like, no, everything's all booked up. We have our people. And I was like, all right. well, Mrs. So and so, have a good life. And then I never saw her. I never spoke to her again. It was pretty much just like, yeah, you don't exist to me anymore.
I mean, I hope she has a good life though.
I no, like, yeah, I I don't know. I mean, no ill will
No,
towards
I
her.
know,
I'm just
Jackson.
like,
I'm just messing
I.
with you, man.
It's just like, man, you really fucking did that to me, like just because I wanted to do the senior thing that like only seniors can do, and now you're just like, well, get the fuck out of here. You go do your thing
Yeah,
or
go
whatever.
duel
And
a
I'm like, well,
Komodo dragon like me,
you go do your
Jackson.
Komodo dragons up on the tennis courts, you
Jackson, main character of
rough
Single Dragon, the fight game.
main character of Single Dragons, the fighting game. You see like like a stage where I'm just roaming around the school fighting Komodo dragons.
It's just you fighting Komodo dragons with tennis equipment, bro. That's
that,
like a
that
fever dream material right there.
that sounds like. Have you ever seen Double Dragon Neon?
No.
It's basically Double Dragon, except what if it was super 80s and like super like neon encrusted like cheese, and it was a game. I don't think it ever got re-released. It was a fever dream, and I just loved how the music was crazy. The villain was this like Skeletor, weird like samurai skeleton man, and it was the dumbest shit ever. And I loved it. And I just imagined like a fighting game where this fat white dude with curly hair, a very visible tie band, and a fucking racket are running around killing Komodo dragons at a school.
I mean,
Uh,
that's a fantastic image to end the podcast off on. But I will have
um,
one question
what is
before
your
I go.
question?
Technically, two questions.
Mm-hmm.
The first question is, do you have any encounters with the spooky variety?
A spook like ghosts and
You have any
stuff?
ghost stories or spooky encounters?
Uh,
I like to
weirdly,
ask
I
every
don't
time.
know. No, that's fair. I don't think I've had many spooky encounters. I've certainly had like weird dreams and like weirdness that you could classify as spooky. Like I keep a dream like journal filled with all of those dreams I can remember, and some of them are like really weird. And then I wake up and I never like wake up like in a feverish sweat because I'm like, oh my god, what just happened?
Yeah,
I
because you have a
wake up and I'm
sweatband
just
on.
yeah, because my sweatband protects me from all the sweat, and I just wake up and I'm like, it's not that I'm scared. I'm just like, what the hell just happened? What was that?
Okay.
And I've been on a dry spell lately because I've been at home and I've just not had many weird dreams. Like I've had some. I've only done this recently, and I think I only have like 8 entries. And I look at some of them, and I'm like, what was going on? Are you okay?
I mean, what's the weirdest dream you ever had?
Ooh, this is a good one. It's at the very top of my list. Basically, I went to bed, and I think at the time I was like really tired, and I was dreaming about I was sitting on someone else's couch, like watching a movie on like a really old flat screen, and it was about a French English murder romance movie, and like the whole dream was just me watching the movie and like occasionally cutting to like a third person view of the movie, and it was just it was the story of a French killer who literally murders everything that he sees as imperfect, and then the nice girl of his dreams is completely blind to what he's doing, and then it's just like it's so I'm just like, is this an actual movie? Like, what am I? Why am I dreaming about a guy who only speaks French, and this like black girl who's just like at a college, like trying to hang out, and then she like looks out at this dude like murdering like 15 people at a park, and she's like, oh, he seems so cultured.
Okay.
What is this dream?
Let me ask this. Do you know French?
No.
So, okay. So your brain generated the French language.
Yes.
That's
Gibberish.
amazing. I don't even
But like,
understand that.
he was the only one speaking French in the entire thing. Everyone else was speaking English, and it was like I think it was set in like it was some college town, and it was just this random French dude who like only wore hoodies and stuff, and he was
What? So Jocks the Ripper is going around.
Chuck the
Like-
Ripper in broad daylight is just stabbing like dogs and like kids that are
What?
annoying him, and like it is the most random shit I have ever done, and that was what got me into doing these dream notes where I'm just like, what the fuck is going on? Like what, like I just write it down as like remember this shit.
That is
And
utterly.
I have a
absurd.
couple, I have like at least half a dozen more for the future.
Okay.
For the future.
I mean, I will end this off because we are at time
Yeah.
by asking one final question.
Okay.
The second on the list of 2.
Okay.
Why do you think there's an elf on the shelf?
Why do I think there's
Other
an
than the
elf on the
fact
shelf?
it's after Christmas.
I think the reason you put a slightly cut off elf on a shelf right in the middle
Why would
of
you
this
say cut off, bro?
because I
What?
can
Are you
tell it's cut off.
Messing up my flipping my quality control. Thanks,
So
thanks,
control.
buddy. It's also not cut off. Where's it cut off?
I thought it was cut off at like the foot. Like I thought I didn't realize that. I thought
No,
that was
they don't
supposed
have
to be
feet,
like.
bro. They're feetless creatures.
Do they not?
I don't own an elf on the shelf.
I thought it was like I
Not
couldn't tell
sponsored,
if
by
those
the
were
way.
supposed to be like red footy pajamas or like you cut off like the shoes that they were wearing. I thought they had like white shoes or something, like to go with their
No.
gloves.
No, those are his like
What
feet.
the hell?
His
Okay.
nubs, I guess.
Okay. I think the reason why you put an elf on the shelf there is because you basically wanted to circle it back to like the weirdness in my brain, going from Nick Cage to slaughtering Komodo dragons to murdering gnomes with disintegration to my dream journal and all of this other insanity.
Okay, I'm not going to answer if that's right.
So, also, as my final note, did you know that Nicolas Cage voices himself in a video game?
What game?
Dead by Daylight. There's an entire DLC pack built around buying Nicolas Cage. I looked up his IMDb and I was like, wait, he was in Dead by Daylight as himself? What?
I mean, that's pretty in character, not going to lie.
But yeah, that's like yeah, it's gonna be the note I'm ending on. Thank you very much for having me, Matt.
No problem. And if you need any of your Komodo dragons slain, call Jackson. He's a
Yeah.
professional.
Yep.
Bye, everyone.
Yeah.
Did you... Wait.
What?
Oh, shit. Yo, Nick Cage is in my room? What the